Their last home game of the season. This club have not defensive about it.
Yes, people, what's happening? Welcome back to the channel and welcome to another video. First things first, guys, make sure you smash the like, subscribe if you're new around here, all of that good stuff. And as always, leave your thoughts in the comments below. And in today's video, guys, I'm going to be going through the latest comments from Todd Boehly on Chelsea's proposed new stadium. And the big news is really that Chelsea could have to wait until 2042. Yes, you're hearing that correctly, guys. 2042. Boehly was speaking at a business conference last night. Chelsea fans may need to wait until 2042 before they can move from Stamford Bridge to a new home. Co-owner Todd Boehly warned on Tuesday. And Boehly's quotes on the stadium were as followed. It's years until plans come to fruition. It's years in the making. When we originally bought the club, we agreed initially that we had 15 or 20 years to figure this out. But it's a big project in a really interesting city like London, where there's a lot of constituencies that have an opinion. Obviously, the number one constituency for us is our fan base and what's going to be the best for Chelsea. I think everyone recognises that a club as big as Chelsea should have a stadium that reflects the size of the club. And ultimately, that's going to be a strategic advantage. Of course, there's no doubt. There's no doubt about it. You know, we need a bigger stadium. We all know that. But this idea that we might have to wait 15 to 20 years for a new stadium is mental. Absolutely mental. It's the one thing that, you know, there's really been very little progress on in terms of what's actually happening. Now, we know about the Earl's Court site. We know that what has to be done to redo Stamford Bridge. We'd have to go and play somewhere else for probably 5-6 years whilst it's built. Wembley gets spoken about. The RFU chairman has said that, you know, he'd be open to Chelsea playing at Twickenham potentially, but of course, local council might oppose to that. And it's one thing I would say is it's a difficult decision for Chelsea in terms of there's a lot of moving parts to this. There's a lot of tape that needs to be got through in terms of, you know, local council, in terms of various different parties and shareholders that will have a say in a decision and things that you have to get signed off by people. We're in a situation where our ground is very unique in terms of its location, in terms of we're very limited in what we can actually do on the current site. It's not like Man United where they've just got acres of land they can just build on near Old Trafford, no problem whatsoever, and it doesn't affect anything. You know, we're not in a situation like that. Earl's Court, as Hans-Jörg Weiss said on Chelsea Fan TV after the Liverpool game, is the ideal solution. But worryingly, he did say that they haven't got one person who's leading the project right now. I'm sort of thinking, guys, the stadium's a major thing here. What do you mean, as an ownership, that you've not appointed a single person to lead the project and to drive the project forward? I felt, for me personally, that was, you know, a little bit concerning. We already know that we've fallen behind a number of teams. We're going to be 10th in terms of stadium size once Everton move into their new stadium next season. We're behind Arsenal. We're behind Tottenham. And we're behind multiple different teams now in the league. You know, it feels like a rebuild of Stamford Bridge has not been fully ruled out, but that's definitely been shelved for sure. And discussions about the future of the stadium and the future plans are going to take place at the end of the season. So hopefully by the end, towards the end of this year, start of next year, we may actually have some idea on what's going on. But it is concerning that sort of over 3 years into the ownership now, that there's really very little update. There's very little idea about what's going on. No one really seems to have any idea about what the next steps are. We've had a few minimal updates on Earl's Court. We've had a rebuild of Stamford Bridge kind of ruled out, which means, sorry, a stand-by-stand redevelopment of Stamford Bridge has been ruled out. So that leaves you two options: Earl's Court, or you knock down Stamford Bridge. Those are the only two options that we have, because in a similar location, you're not going to be able to find anywhere where there's a big enough site to build a new stadium on that is going to be in the proximity of Chelsea, like in the borough of Chelsea and Kensington. It just isn't going to happen. So seemingly we have two choices from what I can work out. But the idea that we might have to wait until 2042 is a madness. I wasn't expecting a quick resolution to this whatsoever, but 3 years in to this new ownership, I was expecting a little bit more progress on the stadium front in terms of ideas, in terms of plans, maybe. But virtually nothing has changed. We knew about the Earls Court site a long time ago. We knew that a knockdown and rebuild of Stamford Bridge was the other possibility. So nothing really new has happened. And we've seen things that saying that, maybe the stadium, you might be able to think about a stadium in maybe 2030 to 2032. But okay, so that's like sort of 5 to 7 years time. But this idea that they were viewing this as maybe a 15 to 20 year project is kind of mental. But it also goes to show that these guys, despite what the fans think and what the fans might want, these guys are going absolutely nowhere. They're fully invested in Chelsea for the long run. They're not planning to go anywhere. And I think those comments about it being a 15 to 20 year project very much back up that trail of thought. I mean, guys, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Are you concerned by the lack of progress about a stadium? Are you concerned about the fact that we could have to wait until 2042 until a new stadium? I'll be interested to hear your guys' thoughts on it, because yeah, we are getting left behind. We're missing out on so much revenue. And, a modern stadium, big stadium, that does play a part in convincing players to join the football club. There's no doubt about it. I mean, players aren't going to join just because of the stadium, but a great stadium to play in, a modern stadium, is definitely an attractive factor to players, and it's going to make a difference having, a better stadium to play in. There's absolutely no doubt in my mind it's going to make a huge difference actually having a decent stadium to play in. And we've been needing a new stadium for a number of years now. But yeah, I appreciate Chelsea's unique, and it's not easy to build something new given the restrictions we've got on the current site. And that is why Earls Court is literally the best solution. I know it's going to go to a vote when there's something to vote for. And the pitch owners, a lot of those guys are very opposed to leaving Stamford Bridge. There are some that will obviously be pro it, but I ultimately think the best solution for me personally is leave Stamford Bridge, go to Earls Court. Everything stays the same as we know, the same match traditions. You're traveling to the same area. You can go to all the same pubs before the game. You can do all the same stuff afterwards. Your match day experience doesn't change whatsoever. And you can go to a modern stadium, a modern multi-sport stadium, multi-facility stadium, and you're in a position where you can increase the capacity on that site without too many problems. If you do rebuild Stamford Bridge, that's it. You're basically saying that you're going to have 60-odd thousand seater stadium at Stamford Bridge, which will be nice and will be good. Don't get me wrong, but that's it. If you ever want to get more than 60,000 seats, you have to leave. So why rebuild Stamford Bridge and then possibly have to leave again in 20, 30 years time or whatever, because you want a bigger stadium and footballs have developed so much? Just go to Earls Court in the first place, get your whatever the capacity is to start with, and then you can build on and improve upon that. So yeah, that makes the most sense to me. I get it. People are attached to Stamford Bridge and whatnot. And of course, it's a place of history. It's iconic. So many great memories, a great place to go and watch your football. But time evolves, things change. And ultimately, in my opinion, we need to move on from there. We've done our thing with it. We've got some great memories there, won everything there is to win. It's time to create new memories elsewhere in a more modern stadium, get more match day revenue in. More fans in the stadium. There's an opportunity for more people to be able to go to Chelsea games. It's not easy to get tickets for Chelsea games. So these are all things that need to be taken into consideration. But yeah, guys, that's just kind of my thoughts on the stadium, thoughts on the latest news that it could take 15 to 20 years until we get a new stadium. As I said, let me know your thoughts, any ideas you've got about a potential new ground anywhere. And yeah, I'll catch you again in another one soon. Up the Chelsea, and we're out. Peace.